What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. Thanks for joining us here at Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm Howard Bender. I got Andrew Cooper here, and oh, looky, we got a third joining us here. He's also the newest member of the FA. Well, he's always been a family member for years and years and years, but making his article debut this season here, doing our wide receiver cornerback matchup report. It is JB Barry. JB, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining us, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I got to tell you, that intro just gets you fired up, doesn't it? Like, just hearing that music and seeing little head on the football player, it just gets you fired up. So I'm happy to be here, guys. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm happy you're here, man. Dude, for people that don't know, me and JB, we go way back. Well, JB, when you and me first met, I think we both had like 400 followers. Man, like, I think I had like 300 then. We were like, let's just do a show. And we like just decided we were going to do our own podcast. I had my microphone that was given to me for free, and I would put it on like an ironing board in front of me. Remember the ironing board, JB?
Yep. How do you forget the ironing board?
The ironing board, yeah. The Fantasy Besties. That was the first thing I did, like, and now we do this every day. Yeah. That's
there it is. I got this right here.
Yeah, you came out to my wedding, man. So yeah. JB, dude, always good to have you around, man. Good times. Absolutely. I'm glad that you're writing for Fantasy Alarm now too, because your article is a killer every week.
We'll talk about that. We'll dive into the wide receiver cornerback matchup, just what JB's process is, how he's eyeballing certain secondaries. Coop and I last week, we did a segment where we were talking about secondaries that we were targeting against. So, why not bring it in here with JB? So we'll cover all of that. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We see y'all in there. Scampers, Toronto Dave, Scotty Frankel, and Dunn. Kev Tompkins, the whole crew is in there. So we appreciate you guys all joining us in here. And make sure that if you are watching on the YouTube page that you smash that like and subscribe button. So, gentlemen, here we go. I mean, listen, week 3 is now officially in the books. We're learning a lot of stuff. We're seeing some good things. We're seeing a lot of injuries, some bad stuff there. Last night's Monday Night Football games, I don't know about you guys here. I'll start with JB. I mean, because, guest first. Which game was easier to nod off to? Was it the Eagles game against the Bucks, or was it the Rams-Bengals atrocity that we all had to witness?
Yeah, that later game was rough to watch, and I'm glad that I had to focus on the Bucks game as a Bucks fan, so I got to kind of focus my attention on that one that was a little bit better, but I mean, they were kind of boring games, but look, we can't complain. We got 2 Monday Night Football games. We got football to watch. I'd rather watch that than watch Cars 3 for the 1,500th time with my son on TV. So I'll take it.
You take that breeder talk out of here. This is an abstinence only, no procreation kind of thing.
I was fined. I've been fined quite a bit for bringing up Ty Montgomery, but when I had a kid, man, empty pockets, dude. Man, empty pockets in this show. So we don't bring that up here, JB. And I tell you, man, and I know it's been talked to death, but I know Eagles fans will say, "Oh, try and stop us," blah blah. But that tush push play is so boring. It truly, truly is a boring play. And it's like, I think the big part of it for me is that, like, at least with the QB sneak, there's individual effort involved. Watching a dude get smashed in the back of the head by Dallas Goedert to get dragged to a yard, it's just not entertaining. Like, and it's fine if it stays in the game and all that. Taking a knee isn't entertaining. Spiking the ball, I guess, isn't an entertaining play either. But it's just not a fun play to watch. I got to admit, boring. It's boring.
I don't think it's designed for fun. I think it's designed to just push the ball over the stupid goal line. I mean, listen, as an audience, there's plenty of other action. Well, there's really not. It's so funny how football, if you condense, I don't know if you guys have ever watched like the condensed versions of some of the games. You watch the condensed versions, you realize that there's about 20 minutes of like really good football to watch, and then the rest of it is all commercials and dog shit. Like that's just basically where it comes down to.
It's so funny you say that because so many people complained about baseball for so many years and how boring baseball is. And they made these stances to shorten the game and make it quicker. But when you break down a football game, there's a lot more like hard-nosed action, but there's so much downtime that people don't even talk about.
Right. That's the thing is it's a totally different game. It's violent. You can't play it every day because how violent it is. It gets dangerous to even play it on Thursdays. So I don't know. But I will say, if that play used to be illegal, it would be easy enough just to say, hey, you know what? It's dangerous to just have guys pushing their teammates from behind, and let's make it a little more interesting, right? But it wouldn't be the first time. Back, early 2000s, the Patriots basically figured out that you could just rough guys up, wide receivers, the line, and grab them and hold them. And then they changed those rules to make it more fun. And Peyton Manning threw for a gazillion yards and touchdowns, and it was more fun. So you know what? Like, if there's a play that most people agree is lame, spice it up. They moved the extra point back to spice it up a little bit, right? Let's spice it up.
Oh yeah, that's gotten super spicy now. Super spicy. It just makes people hate kickers even more. Like,
it truly does.
Right? I mean, really, with the exception of Lindellians on Twitter, I don't think there's a single person who gives a crap about kickers anymore because of that. It's like all these misses are just ridiculous. So anything really jump out at you guys here about week 3 that like really kind of hit home? I mean, obviously we've got some injuries. Mike Williams out with the torn ACL. That's a huge bummer, but we'll talk more on Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston. They at least have that, they've got depth there at wide receiver. So the next man up kind of a situation is pretty good there. But, I don't know, Jameis Winston possibly being the starting quarterback now for the New Orleans Saints. JB, you probably have like an affinity for Jameis there. Oh, are you already unloading the fab bucket on him this week?
No, definitely not, because he goes up against Tampa. I think the corners are starting to get healthier, so it's going to be a tough matchup. You can play the revenge game narrative all you want, but I mean, you saw what Jameis looked like coming into that game. He took that backup role this year for a reason. He didn't want to be out there. So I don't think, look, if you're in a super flex, you're desperate for a quarterback, sure, I'll probably pick him up in a league where I just need a guy to fill in week 5 bye weeks. But I mean, I'm not going to unload on him. I am concerned though on the Bucs side of things about Rachaad White, Howard. He's not running very well. The volume's there, the usage is there, but that's a takeaway that I had from week 3 is watching him run. He runs like he's like 45 years old, not like a young kid. So it's weird.
And we have a question in the chat. Get the Twitch glasses out. Twitch gang, we appreciate y'all. He says, Kamara or Rachaad White? So Rachaad White has not looked good. Alvin Kamara coming back after a 3-week vacation. He posted some stuff so he posted a video on Twitter of like a guy getting out of jail, and he like cropped his face over the guy getting out of jail's face, so like Kamara's fired up to be back. For me, it's Kamara, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you lean into Kamara or stick with Rachaad White?
Oh, I definitely lean into Kamara. I mean, the Saints aren't a team that you like to run on. Neither is Tampa Bay for that matter. But I'd rather just kind of lean on him, Kamara there, because Rachaad White. Like, here's the thing, and this is one of the reasons why I really softened up on. Like, I was in on Rachaad White in like June, early July. But then all of a sudden, they lost Ryan Jensen, their center, right? Their offensive line was all banged up as it was. So there's no push off the offensive line. There's nobody really there to kind of create holes that you need. So for me, Rachaad White. And again, I mean, I think he doesn't look like he's got this like big burst, but I think that's just that in general. There's no push off from that. Yes, Scott Frankel says the Bucs miss Jensen. Of course they do.
And I'll add to that, Howard, because I think the Bucs might make a push at Jonathan Taylor again. They were in the rumblings for the trade talk to begin with, and now after he's eligible to come back, I think they make that push. That division is winnable. Look at the rest of the teams in that division. Now the Saints are dealing with Carr's injury. Panthers look terrible. Falcons look terrible. And Baker's actually surprising people. So they might say, look, we have Evans for this year. We might not have Evans anymore. Let's make this push for JT. We see the same thing JB does about, Rachaad White not being the guy. Maybe they make that push for JT. And then the volume that we liked Rachaad White for goes out the window.
Only problem with that, JB, though, is that the Colts are also in first place in a winnable division. Somehow they're 2-1. And that is kind of the conditions that would call for Jonathan Taylor to say, hey, you know what? why don't we try and win this division? So if the Colts were like 1-2 or 0-3, it might feel a little easier. But I mean,
there's a lot to repairing that relationship, though. I mean, I don't even know if it's salvageable. I mean, I would think that Taylor might just come back to just be like, screw it, man. I mean, if you're not trading me somewhere, I have to at least show other teams that I've got value, and therefore let me get back onto the field. I think that's what's in Taylor's best interest, but I don't know if this relationship is really that salvageable. And, I can't see him sitting out the year. That would be kind of a mistake. I don't know if going to Tampa Bay to play behind a worse offensive line is really the answer. That might just be a little wishful thinking there on your part there, JB. I'm more interested. You know what? You brought up the revenge game narrative for Jameis Winston. I'm actually more in line with that. I did a video earlier this morning. You guys will be able to find it on my YouTube page, talking about DFS revenge game narratives this week. Now I have my quarterback with Jameis Winston. I got my receivers in Calvin Ridley going up against Atlanta. Brandon Cooks takes on the Patriots this week, and Adam Thielen goes up against the Vikings. So I think really the assignment is somebody find me 2 running backs and a tight end and a flex play that I can get in on that.
Yeah, we'll have to look at those. Well, while you're looking for those, I just want to add one last thing on this game. I never want to hear a Taysom Hill question again, ever. Jamal Williams was out. Alvin Kamara was suspended. The quarterback got injured, and Taysom Hill didn't do a damn thing. I never want to hear a Taysom Hill question ever again. Ever again. Thank you.
Yeah, see, you say that, and now your Twitter timeline is going to be littered with things about Taysom Hill. I said that. I think I said something about not wanting a oh shit, who's the Kareem Hunt. I was like, I'm not going to answer any Kareem Hunt questions last week, and of course,
Right.
all over the place there. All right, let's kind of roll through the chat. You people are relentless, which we love. We actually do love it, and see that there. So I want to make sure that we steadily address this one here. We already got the Kamara, Rashad White. Scott Frankel was a big fan of Evan McPherson. Yeah, sure. Okay.
JB's a big fan of Evan McPherson. No,
you're
a big fan of Riley Patterson's your guy, right?
That's my guy. Smokey the Cat says, I had to pull the trigger. Can't wait 2-3 more weeks on Burrow. Trading Kyron Williams for Josh Allen in a 12-team league. Considering what you probably paid for Kyron Williams, unless you lost Nick Chubb, you don't have Saquon Barkley, you don't have Jonathan Taylor, unless you lost them. I don't see an issue with this deal. You?
No. Now you just turn around and trade Joe Burrow for something.
Yeah.
And go. Get through Josh Allen's bye week or one of their bye weeks and flip him for a depth running back now.
Exactly, yeah. If Kyron isn't one of your top 3 running backs, then I think it's a good deal. If Kyron Williams is one of your 3 best running backs, though, then I don't know. Running backs are harder to come by than quarterbacks.
That's the thing. And, it's so funny, too. Do you know how many people are sitting here right now with their fantasy teams whining and crying? They're like, oh, I went wide receiver heavy, and now I don't know what to do. I had a guy yesterday who was like pissing and moaning on the alarm show, just being like, should I trade Stephon Diggs or CeeDee Lamb to get some running back help? Because he's got nobody now on his roster. And I'm like, so you're going to, I said, unless somebody's going to give you like a first rounder, and like a legit running back for one of those guys, you might as well just keep him and keep trying to like patch shit up, because you don't want to, you're not going to trade CeeDee Lamb or Stephon Diggs to get what, like Rashad White and a mediocre tight end.
Well, that's a
tight end, a wide receiver. it's just not going to happen for you.
If you went 0 RB, you think of all the running backs you could have gotten off the wire. The 0 RB is a strategy that starts at the draft. It doesn't end at the draft. It starts at the draft, and then you got to go crazy with waivers, with Fab to get these guys. Like, how do you not have Jerome Ford or even Zach Moss or Kyron Williams or anybody? It's
that's
crazy.
What you do that strategy for.
Right.
You go wide receiver heavy to get that advantage, and then you come back and you piece, like Howard was saying, you piece the running backs. Like Coop said, you go out, you grab that one guy off of the wire, and boom, now you have enough at running back to take advantage of your positional advantage at wide receiver.
People just panic, man. They just panic unbelievably. Fatty McFats wants to know if D-Hop is Dunzo. JB, is D-Hop Dunzo?
No, I don't. I think that offense is just really struggling. I don't think he's done. I think that he's still talented enough to be a wide receiver too. The targets are there. It's a very limited wide receiver room there. So targets are going to be there for him. They just got to start connecting. It's early.
He made a nasty catch this week, I will say. Like it wasn't as good as Mike Evans' catch yesterday. Oh my God, dude, that catch was ridiculous. But D-Hop made a classic D-Hop catch where, he just extended better, used his body better, made the catch on the sideline, kept his feet in. So it's still there. It's just Tannehill needs to be a little bit more like a real quarterback and less like a wide receiver that played at Texas A&M.
He's also been dealing with an ankle injury. I mean, he was like he was late. He was a late add to the injury report this week, and then he still played. So I don't really know what everybody's expectations were. I mean, if you think that you're getting DeAndre Hopkins from 7 years ago, you might want to rethink your whole fantasy football strategy there, because that's not a projection system that works. You got to look forward. You can't keep looking behind and seeing what a guy did. You have to see what he's about to do.
Even if he was the same exact player from 7 years ago, he's on the Tennessee Titans. So you couldn't have possibly expected to get that player.
You would think that, Coop, and yet still people say, "Oh, I drafted DeAndre Hopkins because he's a stud." And what happened? Right. What happened? Lil Cheeto wants to know. I love Lil Cheeto right there.
Twitch gang.
2. Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and CJ Stroud. To me, it's Lawrence and Purdy, and it's not even close the rest of the way there. I get what Jordan Love's doing, but he's not a heavy thrower, and Matt LaFleur doesn't want him to be. And I don't know, CJ Stroud, you could throw it 40 times a game. The results are still garbage.
Brock Purdy, man, I mean, I'll tell you, every time this guy plays, going back to last year, he's basically throwing 2 touchdowns. Last week is the first time he didn't, and then this week he comes back, 2 more touchdown passes. I think Brock Purdy just being in that offense, if you take CJ Stroud or Jordan Love and put them on the 49ers, then we love them too. But Brock Purdy lives there, and Trevor Lawrence is awesome. So, yeah.
If you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have put Love above Purdy just for the rushing upside, but Purdy's shown me a lot. I like watching him play. He's playing with a certain swagger, and like you said, he's a good fit for that offense.
Jordan Love did run a little more this week, but it's not like he's going to have like crazy rushing games, right?
Loveneek wants to know, would you guys trade Michael Thomas and Travis Etienne for Kenneth Walker and Jalen Waddle in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. Like, I don't even know.
I might be the highest in the industry on Michael Thomas, and I would do that.
Yeah, and Charbonnet is starting to take over some of the work from Walker, but to get a piece like Waddle in that offense that just put up 70 points, yes, sir.
Dude, Walker's still the main guy. I mean, Carolina is a shitty run defense. That's just fact. They were giving up, walking into the game, they were giving up 135 yards per game on the ground. So if you didn't expect to see, like, that's the thing. I'm not going to sit here. People are going bonkers. And let's talk about this with Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears right now, because I'm sure those questions are going to pop up, on the regular as well. Just because you've got this running back like a Zach Charbonnet, like a Tajay Spears, even a Tyler Algier, there's still a primary on that roster. Derrick Henry is the primary on that roster. You saw that in the touches. I don't give a shit what the snap count says. You saw it in the touches for Derrick Henry. And I kind of feel like it's a very similar situation here with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker rushed for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. He was involved in the passing game as well. What is it about Zach Charbonnet or that he's doing that you all think that maybe Charbonnet is going to push Walker for touches? It was a game where Seattle had it well in hand and they were just running. It's like, everybody's ready to count out. Listen, I love Devin A-Chain. I do. But if you guys think that Mike McDaniel's going to put his boy, Raheem Mostert, on the fucking bench, you're crazy. Absolutely crazy. I got to remember to stop dropping F-bombs here. I'm sorry about that. And for anybody out there with like the little tiny baby ears in the YouTube world, my apologies there. That's one of the things that, I get it. You want to be proactive when you're looking at waiver wire pickups and running backs and things like that. But to sit there and just constantly think that this dude's going to supplant this guy, I think is just ridiculous here. Curious as to thoughts, Coop.
You got to ask yourself why. You got to ask yourself why it happened. And like, look at Antonio Gibson. Like, if these guys are the 2-minute drill backs, then that's great. There are going to be games where they're going to have this situation where they're just out there for whole drives at, running the 2-minute drill, which Charbonnet and Antonio Gibson did. But you also have to consider how specific those situations are, right? Like, it doesn't happen every time at the end of the second half. And it doesn't even happen every time when you're at the end of games. Sometimes a team doesn't even get a chance, or it's a blowout. It's like, it's such a specific situation that leads to these, that when we go into next week, it's going to be Derrick Henry again. It's going to be Brian Robinson again. It's going to be Kenneth Walker again. So you don't really have to panic here. I mean, Kenneth Walker, you look at the snaps for Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker still scored 2 touchdowns. You're going to be just fine.
And it's one thing to have that foresight to pick those guys up or to draft them late in your drafts and stash them on the bench. The guys who drafted Jerome Ford were happy that they had him sitting on the bench, right? So it's one thing to have that foresight, but have the right expectations. Know that they're not going to come in and just supplant the guy that's the guy, or even have a 60-40. Like, they're there to be a little piece of the pie. And then if something happens, boom, now you got the whole pie, or most of the pie.
Travis Etienne let up a goal line carry to Tank Bigsby. I mean, he's in the same trade, right? Like,
well, I mean, Travis Etienne, I mean, that's the big issue with Travis Etienne. Dude had 5 touchdowns last year. 1 touchdown came with inside the green zone. 1.
Oh.
Well, that's why they got Bigsby.
That's why I told everybody last week. I was like, Tank Bigsby against Houston, plus 260, score a touchdown. Easy. I mean, when you see what the usage is for certain guys like that, Etienne's great between the 20s. They'll take him outside the 10 or the 15, but man, I don't know.
Perfect name for goal line back too. Tank Bigsby.
Tank Bigsby.
Right? Truck largely. Right? Like, just a perfect name. Yeah.
Buck Steamroller.
Exactly. Right?
Like, Brad perfect. McCoy wants to know you guys' thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs. I'll leave this to you guys, because despite the fact that Gibbs actually looked like a normal running back last week, I still think that when David Montgomery comes back, that Gibbs is going to see less touches out of that backfield. But I don't know. You guys help me out with this one.
It's as simple as that. They know what they want to do. They want to have one guy on early downs, one guy on pass downs. It's been working great so far. One guy got hurt. Dave Montgomery got hurt, so now you got to lean on the other guy for a little bit, but he'll be back. Right? If Dave Montgomery were out for the season, then you go crazy. But he's not.
Yeah, he's got the upside there, but the volume's never going to be where you want it to be. So you'll play him in hopes that he makes those big plays that he can, in hopes that he gets involved in the passing game, which he will, but he's never going to be the only guy.
Yeah. All right. Ann Dunn wants to know thoughts on Trevor Lawrence. Just be patient, Ann. We were all expecting more out of Trevor Lawrence these last 2 weeks. It didn't happen. There's no reason to panic. There's no reason to bench him. There's no reason to get another quarterback or trade for anybody. Just, you'll be okay.
So Howard, same token as that then. Do you feel similarly about Justin Fields, or are you panicked?
Well, you know what? I'm not panicked because I don't have any shares of Justin Fields. I don't have any shares of him. Everybody was going banana cakes over him in the preseason, and he was like, it's like, oh, his rushing upside, everything's great. I wasn't bullish on the Bears. I wasn't bullish on Justin Fields. Here's a guy that, listen, this is the bed that you made. Lie in it. Like, listen, he's got potential this week. I mean, he's going up against who are they playing? The Bears are playing somebody with a really super soft. Is it Denver?
Nightmare. Yeah, Denver. Yeah, Denver. It's crazy matchup. Yeah.
Justin Fields will have running room to happen there, but I mean, again, this is you drafted a guy because you thought that like suddenly he was going to become a great passer, like we saw with Lamar Jackson in year 2. We haven't seen that yet. I'm not going to panic over it because it was still a wait and see game. If you drafted Justin Fields and didn't give yourself like a legitimate backup QB, well, then you should panic because you screwed yourself over.
That's why we go with the dynamic tier business, man. You got to give yourself a shot of upside and give yourself some safety. And also, when it comes to quarterbacks, I always look at it in terms of confidence. right? Howard does his confidence picks every week for the actual games. But when I put all these guys together, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, who in your heart and in your mind are you more confident is a good quarterback? And it's far and away Trevor Lawrence. So like we believe this guy to be good. We know that he's going to be good. A 3-game sample size is pretty small. I'm not panicking. If you have a situation like maybe what's going on with Dak, where the offense has changed and it doesn't look good, then maybe you panic. But Trevor Lawrence is going to be just fine.
Smokey the Cat wants to know rest of season, Palmer or Quentin Johnston. All right, before you guys chime in here, I'm just going to say this. Y'all need to stop with the rest of season shit. You need to just stop. Football is a game of matchups. All right. And you have to be able to react to the injuries. You have to look at what's going on right now. And if you look at the way the hierarchy was for targets in Los Angeles, you had Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Joshua Palmer. Allen's working like 80, 90% of the snaps. Mike Williams, 65, 75% of the snaps. Joshua Palmer, 60% of the snaps. And Quentin Johnston was getting like 25% of the snaps. All right. So in the realm of next man up, what do you guys think you're going to look at this week? You're going to see Keenan Allen. You're going to see Joshua Palmer step in, and then you're going to see Quentin Johnston. So yes, Quentin Johnston's going to get more work and whatnot, but in 2 receiver sets, he's the guy on the bench right now. Is there the possibility that he overtakes him? Sure, absolutely. But worry about what you got to put on your field right now. I mean, if you're just sitting there and you're like, well, I want to make a waiver ad and I'm hoping for a guy who's going to pop in week 13 or week 14, go ahead and sit and overlook Joshua Palmer in order to add Quentin Johnston. The rest of season stuff, folks, it's a matchup game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're gonna say, oh well, if I say I like Quentin Johnston more for the long haul, you're gonna add Quentin Johnston, and then you're gonna be like, oh, why did Joshua Palmer get more work this week? Like that's what you're gonna do, and it's insanity, man. It's insanity. Understand the concept of the game itself, not what you want to see, not I got all this rookie hype coming out of college thing. Watch and see what NFL coaches do. They've been doing the same thing for decades. They've been doing the exact same thing, treating their players the exact same way. Just because you want to see it as a fantasy owner doesn't mean it's going to happen.
What I will say, though, I love that you brought up the snap percentage because it's clear as day that they want Palmer out there more than Quentin Johnston. But in the first 2 weeks of the season, Quentin Johnston did out-target Josh Palmer, even though Palmer ran a lot more routes and was out there for a lot more snaps. So they do want to get Quentin Johnston more involved in the offense. And to your point, Howard, if this is a pickup that you're making right now, Smokey the Cat, to put on your bench and to be a guy who you can use for a bye week fill-in or as a potential upside guy later down the road, it can be Quentin Johnston because they want him to be a part of the offense and he could take more of that Mike Williams role. But the guy that's out on the field that's more likely to produce right away is going to be Josh Palmer. So if you need a guy this week, it's Palmer.
And if you ask Brandon Staley, which they did, here's what Brandon Staley had to say. He said the main reason Quentin Johnston hasn't played as much is because of the talent they have in the wide receiver room and not necessarily that he wasn't ready. So right there, all these people are saying, well, Quentin Johnston's a rookie. He's not ready. He needs to get ramped up. Brandon Staley said it's not because he's not ready. It's because they believe the other players are more talented. So.
See, but that also tells me that with Mike Williams out, there's going to be more opportunity for him, but maybe not more than Josh Palmer. To Howard's point, he's out there more.
So, yeah, if you're making it all, it really, at the end of the day, if your benches are that deep that you're saying, okay, like I don't need to use this guy now, but maybe down the road, I just want some upside, then go ahead and grab Quentin Johnston, but you're not going to spend the amount of fab that other people are spending on him. I just think there are better options. I don't really want to add either one. I think when all is said and done, the top targets on this team are going to be Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, and then everybody else is going to be scrapping from week to week.
Definitely not going to be Austin Eckler. Kellen Moore does not throw to his running backs.
I don't know, man. With Mike Williams out, I think Eckler could be more involved than he was for the first few games there. We'll see. I know
you just said that Brandon Staley was complimenting the talent that he's got in the wide receiving core. Kellen Moore likes for his quarterback to look downfield. Like, again, that's what I
he's still got 5 targets.
Follow the coach. Follow what they do. We'll definitely, we can monitor this one. I'm more than happy to monitor this one here and see what happens. But just because you lost Mike Williams, so you lost somebody in the vertical passing game, you lost somebody in the downfield passing game. You think you're going to shorten everything up and start dishing it off to Austin Eckler more, or are you going to utilize a 6'1" Joshua Palmer or a 6'4" Quentin Johnston to handle that work?
I mean, well, the thing is, Eckler, he got hurt halfway through the first game. He got 5 targets in that game. It doesn't take that many targets per game. Like, he doesn't need to get 150 targets. Like 5 targets a game at a 17-game season is 90 to 100 targets. So it's like Eckler doesn't have to get peppered to be the second target on the team. The question is whether there is even going to be another guy getting 100 targets besides Keenan Allen. That's the point for me, is that even if Eckler just mixes in, it dilutes it to the point where you might not even have a second pass catcher on the team. That's all.
I don't know, man. I think you're overestimating the number of targets that are going to go to the running back. It's not the offense that Kellen Moore likes to run.
Joe Lombardi was the one that liked doing it, but still, I mean, even then, 5 targets in a game where he got hurt, that's not nothing.
Time will tell.
I don't know. I'll just go back to the chat here. Dan Schwartz says, sell high on Mostert. I mean, I'd love to. Who are your running backs, Dan?
Right.
That's the question. If you're going to ask me if you want to sell high on a running back, I need to know who's in your running back room. Because if Mostert is the 3rd best running back in your running back room, then the answer is no. You shouldn't trade him because he's your 3rd best running back. And what happens when the bye weeks kick in the next couple of weeks? Then what are you going to do when you lose a guy?
To get a real true sell high, you have to look outside of the box score, because everybody knows what you're up to with Raheem Mostert, right? They know that he scored 4 touchdowns. They know that Achane is what he wants to be called, is there now. And they know Jeff Wilson's coming back. Like, you can't sneak one by people with something that's right in front of our face like that. To get the true sell highs, you got to look and see, like, okay, the Texans have dropped back a million times and it's not sustainable. And you got to look for those type ones. I think
you know who's a sell high right now? Devin Achane. Dude's coming off of this ridiculous game and everybody just assumes that he's going to be the guy in Miami. Sell Achane. See what you get for him.
I think you could get more for him than you could from Mostert, because people look at him as the shiny new toy, and they're all thinking, yep, he's coming in, he's going to take over the backfield. But to your point that you said before, Mostert's the guy there that was brought there for the reason to, he has the relationship with the coach. So they're not just going to give his job to Achane, and people think that they are. So you could definitely get value for him right now.
No question.
Thank you, Scott Frankel, for hooking me up with a running back with a revenge game this week. I don't know why I didn't think about it. Zeke going up against the Dallas Cowboys.
There it is, dude.
That ought to be fun. All right, so I need a tight end, I need a running back, and I need a flex play. That's all I'm looking for right now. And I'm telling you, this DFS lineup's going to absolutely smash this week. Smokey says his other running backs are Bijan, Gibbs, Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell, Roshan Johnson, and Jalen Warren. Yeah, I think that makes it fine that you can sell Kyron Williams to get Josh Allen and then trade Joe Burrow and get something bigger there, just like JB said. What do I got here? Okay. I love this. See, this is my goal here is just to change the way everybody phrases questions.
I know what you're going to say, and I can't wait to expand on it.
Who wins this trade? Kirk Cousins and Damian Pierce for Mark Andrews and Justice Hill. You know who wins the trade, Zach? The person who wins the league because of the trade. The person that the trade helps out the most.
Which could be both of them, Howard. Which could be both of them. And that's why when people...
Then great, then so be it. But
when people talk about vetoing trades and lopsided trades... if you feel this trade betters your team, then I don't care what other people think. I don't care what I think about your trade. If you think it bettered your team, then sure, I can give you that justification if you'd like. But if you think it makes your team better, then you won the trade. And guess what? If the other guy thinks that he made his team better, he won the trade too. Everybody wins. Participation trophies all around.
It's true.
Alex wants to know, do you trust Garrett Wilson with Trevor Siemian? No. Listen, I don't trust any Jets player at this point in time right now that's not a running back. It's not, the problem is not the quarterback. The problem is the offensive coordinator.
Bingo.
That's the problem.
Because Garrett Wilson did fine last year with bad quarterback play.
Yeah.
But with bad quarterback play and a bad offensive coordinator, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Doesn't matter who the Jets go out. Anybody, they can add Matthew Stafford for all I care. It doesn't matter. They're not, as long as you've got Nathaniel Hackett as your offensive coordinator, you're not going anywhere.
Howard, I still want them to do Howard's your move where you said just let Aaron Rodgers call the plays. At least that would be fun. At least it would be interesting, right? Like you wouldn't expect. It's just Nathaniel Hackett's not doing it.
You would think. All right, before we continue with the chat, before we get more out of JB Barry here, Underdog Fantasy offers new contests and chances to win every day. Play their pick'em contest by choosing higher or lower on 2 to 5 players' favorite player stats. Right, the more players you pick, the more you can win. You can do this for MLB, NFL, PGA, NBA, NHL are coming up too. Underdog Fantasy also offers daily drafts with leagues ranging from 2 to 12 players. And now there's a brand new way to play Underdog Fantasy. Make picks during the game with in-game pick'em contests. All right, all you need to do is sign up at fantasyalarm.com/underdog. Use the promo code ALARM, and you first-time depositors get 100% match up to $100 for your first deposit. Again, that's fantasyalarm.com/underdog. Promo code is ALARM. Coop, they've got a Thursday night special rolling right now. The Jared Goff 0.5 total yards is the gimme that they're giving you. So let's each give him a pick here and let him have a nice little three player parlay.
Yeah, and we got to make sure we get one player from each team. So we might have to have JB throw an additional player in there. But the one I'm going for here, and honestly, I'm doing it mostly because it was so much fun last week. Last week on Thursday, I took the Bobby Okereke higher on 8 combined tackles, and he had 9. And dude, just watching 58 fly around out there and rooting for every time he got a tackle was so much fun. It's so cool rooting from that side of things, which I don't usually do. I don't play IDP. I know JB does a ton. So just watching him go out there and just be like, yes, he got him. You know, like that is so much fun. So I'm going to chase that again this week with Quay Walker. Devondre Campbell is a little bit banged up, and Quay Walker said that his number's at 8. So I'm going to go higher on that because that's more fun. And this guy just a week ago had 17 combined tackles. Just an absolute animal out there. He had 7 last week, so very close again. And obviously I'm not expecting him to have 17, but I'm going to get him in there and just root for him to be all over the field like he's been recently. So, and I'll tell you what, it adds another little wrinkle to the game where usually you don't care who's making a tackle, but when you have the IDP guys, when you have a little bit on the line, it is so much fun being like, yeah, that's my boy. He got him.
Is it just me, JB, or does Andrew Cooper look like a poorly dubbed kung fu movie at this point?
I'm so glad it wasn't me. I thought it was my connection.
I don't know. There was something going on with your connection where you were just like, you were talking. We saw your mouth going and the words weren't happening. It wasn't all matching up. I think it's okay now. Go ahead, say something.
No. I must avenge my family.
Test. Underdog.
All right, so
much honor.
You're going Quay Walker higher than 8 combined tackles. We're fine with as long as we got Jared Goff in there and we're using Jared Goff.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Then we're good because I'm going to go with Luke Musgrave. I'm going to go with 35.5 receiving yards for Luke Musgrave. I'm going to go with higher. Detroit Lions, middle of that field. Once Anzalone and Aiden Hutchinson, once they commit, The middle of the field is so wide open. This is why they're struggling against tight ends right now. So, I looked at that with Philly and Cade Otton in the Monday Night Football game, and that didn't happen. But that's probably more because Baker Mayfield sucks at football. Yes, JB, he does suck at football. And so I'm going to say that Jordan Love is going to hit Luke Musgrave for more than, for 35 and a half receiving yards. So higher there. Higher on Quay Walker, 8 combined tackles, and you slap in a little Jared Goff higher than 0.5 total yards, and there you go, folks. Then you're making money on Underdog Fantasy. So go sign up right now, fantasyalarm.com/underdog, promo code alarm. That's what you got to do. All right, let's get back to the chat because it is, man, this is bumping here, right?
Twitch crew coming out.
Oh, listen, we got some good names here for some running backs. Scamper says wreck shit. Yep, I think that would be a great one. Kevin Tompkins says flex buff chest. Flex buff chest. That was actually my original porn name, but I changed it to Jack Hammer. But flex buff chest. Shout out to you on that one there, Kev.
That's perfect, dude.
Let's see. What else do we got going on here? Oh, should I trade Olave and Breida for Zay Flowers and Swift, or trade Olave for Judy and Brian Robinson?
No on the second one. Maybe on the first one. Got to see the rest of the
running
back room.
Breida for anything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Breida's negligible. Like that doesn't matter. Olave for Flowers and Swift, or Olave for Judy and Brian Robinson.
So the thing about Zay Flowers for me is that he has a massive target share, right? Like 30%, which is exactly what you want to see. But his average depth of target is where he struggles a little bit, only 5 yards. Now, with that target share, he could be like an Amon-Ra St. Brown type player. If he gets a ton of targets, Amon-Ra is a 7-yard A-dot type guy, but he needs to maintain those targets. So for me, if it's full PPR, I'm on board with the Zay Flowers side. If it's half PPR, I think I'm just going to stick with Olave.
JB?
If you need the running back help, that's why I like that first deal, because you're getting Swift back in the deal, and he looks to have taken over the lead role in that backfield. There will always be somebody else in that backfield, but if you need that running back help, you pick up Swift along with a slight downgrade in Flowers from Olave. I'm okay with that deal.
Especially if Swift goes right in your lineup, then I think you do it for sure.
Let's see. Would you trade maybe Jahmyr Gibbs and Chris Godwin for Jonathan Taylor? I don't know if I would or not.
Too risky.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We still like Gibbs. We're not crowning him a high-end RB1, but I think this team could have 2 back-end RB1s.
Yeah.
Or high-end RB2s.
Also, you guys should. I'm looking at Jay Garver wants to know fair trade for Dak Prescott, that we should be streaming this on TikTok for better revenue.
Should we do it?
That's a good thought there on that. As far as a fair trade for Dak, I mean, is it a 1 QB league? Is it a 2 QB league? What are the rest of your league mates sitting there like thinking? Like, is somebody like down a QB that you're like trying to shop Dak Prescott around? I mean, because you're not really shopping around a great QB. You're shopping around a mediocre fantasy QB. Dak doesn't have the rushing upside that he used to. So, I mean, I guess pick a wide receiver or a running back that you think would be comparable to Dak Prescott. JB, what do you think?
Yeah, if it's a single QB league, you're probably not even going to be able to trade him at this point, because there's guys that you're picking up and streaming that are putting up better points than Dak, especially coming off this week's performance. So this wouldn't be the time to trade Dak. You're not getting proper value for him for where you drafted him.
In a single QB league, I might trade Dak Prescott for a bench spot right now. like trading him for an open roster spot to add someone. Pretty rough over there, man.
A&J Films says trade Mahomes for Davante Adams, Baker Mayfield, and Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, listen, A&J Films, if you want to lose your league, sure, absolutely. Trade Mahomes for that pile of crap. Listen, Baker Mayfield's atrocious. Davante Adams, they can't figure out. I mean, what's going on? Coop, you actually put something in the doc here about Davante Adams. What's going on with him? over there. I mean, I love the player. I'm hoping that Jimmy G is not, that he clears concussion protocol. But, I mean, this is a problem situation in Vegas right now.
Right. Yeah. So the quote from Davante Adams after the game, this is a game in which he got 20 targets. He came out and said, "I don't got time to wait around. It's not my mentality to sit here and try to take all season to figure it out." That sounds like a player that just asked the media to tell the GM that he wants to be traded, right? Like, so I love Davante Adams. He was a guy I was targeting, but you can't trade away. Like, if you have another quarterback on the bench, then you consider that. But you're not going to start Baker Mayfield. That's not the plan, right?
It seems like that's the plan. That's scary. As a Bucs fan, that's scary.
Horrible plan. That is a horrible plan.
Can't be the plan, dude.
That's almost as bad as being Davante Adams and being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go sign with the Raiders."
Plus, to do that trade, you got to drop 2 players to the bench. So it's not just Mahomes. It's Mahomes and 2 players from your bench to get that deal done. Yep. So you really got to think about I would just take Baker out and maybe trade Mahomes for Davante Adams and Gibbs, because you're probably dropping a player from your bench that's better than Baker just to do the deal.
Probably. Would you trade Swift and Ridley for Davante and Montgomery? No. See, Coop's out of here. See, look at that. You pissed off Coop so much with these dumbass trades that he just left us here. But that's all right. You know what? Let's get rid of Coop. Let's talk about you, JB. Let's talk about the wide receiver cornerback matchup article that you put together here. And let's go with that. We'll get back to some questions in chat if we have some time. But I've got this delicious. Oh, he's over here. I've got this delicious guest here today, who I've been waiting to talk to for so long, and now I'm like, I don't want to bombard him with like Q&A from the chat. Talk to me, JB. Shoot, Coop's back. You know what?
I had too many.
No.
I had too many tabs. I had too many tabs open. I looked over on my side and I still had Lightning McQueen Crocs up on my screen from before the show.
Oh, there you go. So, JB, talk about your wide receiver cornerback matchup article. How in depth you're going. Anything that you're seeing right now, 3 weeks in. I'm excited for this week's episode, this week's edition.
Yeah, me too. We got a lot more now after 3 weeks of game action that I could use. And it's great because I really dive deep into the matchups. Like, it's easy to kind of look at things in a big picture, right? Okay, target the Rams cornerbacks because they're not good. But then when you really break that down and you say, okay, they got Kobe Durant running out of the slot, and Kobe Durant is rated 101 out of 108 cornerbacks that are graded on PFF. And that's why Tyler Boyd saw 9 targets yesterday. And, you start to dig a little bit deeper. It not only helps you for the DFS players to look at it with the DFS salaries, and then to look at, all right, who's got a favorable matchup with a good salary, but also for the season-long players to, decide who they're going to put in that flex spot, right? Like, you look at things like snap percentage and route percentage, which you look at, you could use Kevin Tompkins articles for that. And then you add that to the wide receiver cornerback matchup. And now you're putting it all together to make the best possible decision to get the best possible lineup you can. And that's all you could do. I mean, I've lost matchups this year, Howard, by less than a point, scoring the second highest in my league. And I actually just posted one last night that people were like, "Oh, don't you hate when that happens?" Like, yeah, you hate when that happens. But if you make the best decisions to put the best possible team out there, you put the most maximum points you can, you're doing all you can do. And that's why I love doing this article for the family, man. It's great because I get to help people dive a little bit deeper in things that, maybe they don't have the time to look into. And that's what we're here for, man. Fantasy Alarm Team is here to help you win, and I'm so happy to be a part of it now. And I've always been a part of the family, but to be a part of the team now and being able to put this article out there for everybody, I couldn't be happier.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's an incredibly valuable tool. Super excited to have you on board putting it together.
I am mad about one thing, though. This past week, I guaranteed an A.J. Brown touchdown, and he freaking dropped it. I mean, I'll take
the 9
catches. I'll take the 9 catches for 131 yards on 14 targets, but I guaranteed a touchdown. It was thrown in his hands on a perfect slant, and it right off the fingertips.
That's not on you.
Oh, that was it.
You'll learn how dangerous it is to start making guarantees.
I never do, but that was
there.
That was there against Zion McCollum on Monday night. Like,
you could suggest an anytime touchdown prop. That's fine, but guaranteeing a touchdown, JV, come on, man. Come on. That's like guaranteeing your kids that Santa's going to get them everything they want. You're just setting yourself up for failure.
Rookie mistake, I guess.
All right, let's go back to the group here and see if there are other questions and not just Scott Frankel nonsense in here.
Scott Frankel did find us a revenge game tight end. Tyler Croft.
Is Tyler Croft a revenge game tight end?
He is, because he used to play for the Bills, but now he's on the Dolphins. So the Dolphins playing the Bills.
How'd your Durham Smythe call go this past week, dude?
Dude, how can they be? How can the team?
They scored 70 points, and the tight end you recommended to everybody shit the bed.
Unbelievable, right, dude? Yeah. That's why I didn't guarantee anything.
There it is. There it is.
Durham.
Jeff Wilson returning to the Miami backfield doesn't mean anything to me. It does not mean anything to me.
Not anymore.
Mecole Hardman against the Chiefs for my flex play this week. Look at this, man. I can't believe I got to play like the Thursday through Monday slate to make this shit happen, but there you
it's
go.
It's going to be so ugly, but it's going to be so worse.
It's getting worse and worse, dude.
I can't wait to set this. I'm going to set this lineup in the Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Better contest, because that's Thursday through Monday. These are the plays I'm going to put in there.
That's going to be really
great. Should I give Brian Robinson and DJ Moore for Alvin Kamara?
No.
I
think the volume you get from Robinson is similar to what you'll probably get from Kamara.
Is DJ Moore going to do anything?
Did you just Google, is DJ Moore going to do anything? Do you want AI to answer that?
I just typed it in. I just Googled it. The answer seems to be no.
It is decidedly so.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, if we're doing that kind of
get the 8-ball out. Yeah.
Well, let me see. Is DJ Moore going to do anything?
What do we got? A bunch of bubbles.
Outlook, not good.
There you go, dude.
There you go. I mean, that's science right there. Yeah. Science.
For me,
you guys all ask me like how I answer all the start sit questions. I don't.
But to give you a serious answer, the 2-for-1 trades, it really truly helps us out when you let us know who your next man up is. Because the trade in your lineup is, you say you have DJ Moore and Brian Robinson in your lineup right now. And if you trade for Kamara, now a wide receiver is coming off your bench and going into your lineup. So if you say in the context of, I also have Nico Collins, or I also have Tank Dell, now it's the real move is in my lineup, Brian Robinson and DJ Moore, or Kamara and Tank Dell. Yeah, I mean, definitely do that. But if you're trading DJ Moore out of your lineup and you don't have a lot of viable options at wide receiver, then maybe you can't do that trade. So it always helps us out for these 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s to say, hey, by the way, I'm doing this because I have these other guys that I would probably start over DJ Moore anyway.
And who are you dropping? Are you dropping a guy you're never going to play? Or are you dropping a guy that might be a good bye week fill-in for you in a couple weeks?
Yeah, and anytime you do a 2-for-1, you always got to do this. You agree to the deal in principle, and then you look at who he's dropping and say, hey, you're going to drop so-and-so anyway. Why don't you just throw him in? And now the trade is you get Kamara and the other guy back. But again, that's a lot. On surface level, I think I would just take Kamara. There's a chance that he is just awesome. Because he is awesome.
Hal wants to know, why did I draft DJ Moore and what can I do? Is there a support group? I would just suggest start drinking heavily, Hal.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be okay. You'll be all right.
It's worked for Bears fans for years.
Robert Flores says, what are your guys' thoughts on Zach Moss going forward? Sell high or hold? I've got JT sitting in my IR right now. How are you,
Who the hell's buying Zach Moss?
How high?
How do you sell high on a guy who everybody knows is just sitting there waiting for JT to come back?
Yep. Yeah, you're not going to be able to get much for him. Everybody in your league likely knows, okay, JT still could come back. Now, if in a week or two you find out some news that JT is either gone or not coming back, well, then you might have that opportunity to sell high.
Right. The trade, and whoever you're trying to trade with is going to say, what do I got to do to get JT to? And now it turns into you trading both the Colts running backs for something else, which I'm actually not opposed to as long as you're getting back.
Yeah, get some better value back, right? Instead of just getting whatever you're getting for Zach Moss. I mean, you're going to end up throwing that away anyway. Tommy trolling me here, wondering if Justin Fields was on the Jets, would he still be that bad? Again, yes, he would, because Nathaniel Hackett is garbage.
Where does the time go on the show, dude?
What's that?
Where's the time go on the show? How is that an hour? I see Earn Dog in the chat saying minute left.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's crazy.
It's a fun hour.
I think what we're going to have to do, what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to start, I think we might have to start breaking up Alarm Fantasy Football, because the chat is great. I love the chat and it's bumping. I'm thinking maybe we do waiver Q&A only on Tuesdays. We do trade Q&A on Wednesday, and we do lineup Q&A on Thursday.
Yeah. I like that, dude. I like
that. Onto something.
Kind of structure that a little bit more here. What do you guys think out there? You know what? You hit us up at Coupe Fiasco, at Fantasy Coach JB, at Roto Buzz Guy. Where how come my Twitter handles aren't on our
gotta drop the comment. Here? Drop the comment.
All right.
We need a TikTok account too.
And we need a TikTok account. We need lots of stuff here. There you go. Now we're out of here. Thanks so much for JB being here. For Andrew Cooper, JB Barry, I'm Howard Bender. This is Alarm Fantasy Football. Catch you next.